Why have you been ignoring me all morning, after everything you wrote to me last night? My ex-girlfriend got that out at full volume, with her hand round my elbow, in a corridor with most of our year in it, while my actual girlfriend was still straightening my collar. My name is Jihoon. The one holding my arm is Yerin, who I had not properly spoken to since April. The one whose hand came off my collar is Yeon, and half the school has been in love with her since the day she walked into it. Here is what you need before anything else. I had not written to Yerin that night. I had not written to her since spring. I put that out loud, right there, in front of everybody. I did not send you anything, Yerin. She laughed, and it was the soft kind of laugh. She patted my arm. You do not have to do that. It is fine. Just say hello to me like a person. I told her again that I had not sent her anything, and she stopped listening halfway through. Then she turned her phone round, and the corridor took a step closer. My photograph, from the summer trip, squinting at a melting ice cream. My name under it, my spelling, the stupid dot I started putting after it in 9th grade. Under that, a wall of messages. Hundreds. Starting in the summer holiday and ending at 2 in the morning. My grandmother's radio. The dog outside the Baengmyeon noodle place on 3rd Street. The joke about my father's driving that almost nobody alive has heard. And further down, in my rhythm, with my exact habit of dropping a short sentence after a long one. I think about April a lot. I think I got it wrong. I looked up the way you do when a room gets loud. Down by the fire door stood Minsu, my best friend since the Hanwol primary gates, one hand flat on the locker with the dent in it. He was reading the screen in Yerin's hand. Then he looked at me. Then he looked at the floor, very fast, the way you look at a floor that has suddenly become the most interesting object in the building. So I had it, the whole answer, in a corridor, with nowhere to put it. Yerin watched me read. She was not angry. That was the worst of it. Somebody behind me went oh, and it was the kind of oh you cannot take back. Yeon did not cry and she did not walk away. She stepped back one pace, which in her case is louder. She read a little of it over my shoulder. I would rather have been hit. Then Yeon turned her back on me and gave it to the corridor. I will do this in front of everybody, so nobody has to invent it later. Jihoon says he did not write it. Fine. Then round to me. Who did? I do not know. Then find out, and you have until the last bell. And one more thing. I do not want it from you. I want a name out of somebody else's mouth, standing in front of me, where I can watch the face it comes out of. She picked her bag up off the floor. Yerin was still holding the phone up like a lantern. 19 days. That is how long I had been Soyeon's boyfriend. She had said all right on a Thursday, in the rain, outside the Doha bakery on Yerin Street, with the water coming off the awning. I got one true thing out, badly, into Soyeon's face. Give me the day and I will bring you the name. She looked at me a long moment. And, all right. And down by the fire door my oldest friend was still studying the floor tiles. So, 19 days on one side, and the whole of my life on the other. I got Minsu behind the stairwell by the drinks machine, where our school keeps its private conversations, because the machine is loud and nobody stands next to it. Tell me you did not. Minsu kept both hands in his jacket pocket. That is what he does instead of breathing. Then it came out of him in pieces, into the coin slot, not at me. It was a joke. At first. In July. You said she never even blocked you. And I said watch, she would answer anything with your face on it. I made the account before the kettle boiled. And she answered before I had finished the tea. I put my back against the wall. The machine hummed. Somebody kicked it on the floor above. So that was July, I put to him. And now the back end of September is gone too. Yes, you have been writing to my ex-girlfriend with my face on for 5 weeks. He nodded at the drinks machine. Here is where I stopped being angry, which lasted about a minute. He was not smirking. He was not enjoying it. He looked like somebody who has been carrying a heavy bag uphill for a month and has just been made to open it. Why did you not stop after one night? Because she wrote back the next day. And then the day after. That is not an answer, and he gave me the real one anyway. She writes at 11. Every night. If she is late I check whether it failed. I know what she is going to say before she says it. Short ones instead of one long one means she is walking. Minsu. He went straight over the top of it. I have tried to stop. I get as far as opening it. Did you tell her about my grandmother? He did not answer that. The radio, then. That one came up early. How early? Second night. You gave away my grandmother on the second night. He took his hands out of his pockets for it. I did not give her away. I got it right. And that got under my ribs, because he had. Better than I do. When I tell it, I get to the part about the station and I stop. What happened last night? He looked at the machine until I said his name twice. She still loves you. She wants to try again. She typed it very late, then she typed sorry, then she deleted the sorry. He handed me that part like a man handing over evidence. And what did you write back? He did not answer that one either, and I did not need him to, because I had read it 15 minutes ago in a corridor with 40 people in it. And there it was. Not a prank. Not laziness. My best friend had spent the whole of September falling in love through my face, and the night before, the girl at the other end had put it in writing that she still loved me. So I did the obvious thing. We were going to walk out there right now. He was going to open his mouth and produce a name, and I was going back to being a normal idiot with a girlfriend. Then he took hold of my sleeve. 1 day. Give me 1 day. I will tell her myself. You do not get a day. I have until the last bell. And then came the thing I had no answer for, and he gave it to his own shoes. If you drag me out there now, in front of all of them, I will not be able to say it. I did not believe him, which was fair of me and also stupid. Pulled him into the corridor, where Chaiwon was at the notice board with 2 others. Tell them. Out loud, the way you just did with me. Minsu looked at Chaiwon. Chaiwon looked back. 2 faces. That is one more than he can hold. His mouth opened. Nothing came out of it. Not a stammer, not a wrong word. Nothing, the way a tap gives you nothing when the water has been shut off somewhere else in the building. Chaiwon waited, because she is patient about this kind of thing, which is exactly what makes her dangerous. Is he all right? He is fine. I walked him back behind the stairwell and let go of his sleeve, and the 2 of us stood there and did not look at each other. I had seen this before. Second year, front of a classroom, long enough for the radiator to click itself on. No sound came out of him. Miss Han sat him down and carried the lesson on around him. I walked him home that day, the long way, past the shop. So I already knew, and I dragged him out there anyway. Then what do? I have until the last bell and nothing in my hands. Minsu found his voice again now that we were alone. Tell her yourself. She will not take it from me. She said so in front of everybody. Then tell Yerin. And say what? That she has been talking to you since July. Do you want to be in this building tomorrow? Did not answer, and that was the answer. So I gave him the day. It cost me one thing and I did not feel it go at the time, standing by a drinks machine with a boy who could not look up. It cost me my own word to Soy Eon, spent on somebody else's problem, before 9 in the morning. By second period the story had grown a second floor without me. Yerin found me on the landing between the science rooms. She had my hoodie, the gray one with the burn mark on the sleeve, which I had written off months ago along with 2 books and a phone charger. She held it out with both hands, in front of her friends, in front of the stairs, in front of Chaiwon. You kept it. Obviously I kept it. And then, to Chaiwon, without lowering her voice at all, you can take the post about him and Soy Eon down now. It is going to get embarrassing for everyone. Chaiwon runs the class chat the way other people run small countries. She has never posted a single untrue thing in her life. She just posts every true thing before the next bell, and that is much worse. She did not take the post down. She lifted her phone and filmed Yerin handing me the hoodie. By lunch that clip had been watched more times than our school has students, and it lasts less than a breath, and in it I am doing nothing. I was standing in a stairwell holding my own sweatshirt like a man accepting an award he did not enter. Yerin was still looking at me. Her friends had drifted 2 steps back to give us the shape of a private moment, which is the least private shape there is. And I did the thing you are not supposed to do. I stopped denying. I want to tell you why it ended in April. She blinked. You never got the real one. I called it school. It was not school. Everybody was listening. You can hear the exact sound of people not moving. It ended because you wanted to know what I was thinking, over and over, and every time I gave you nothing. Then you stopped wanting to know. And I was relieved. Yerin did not move. That is the thing I never handed over. I was relieved, and I hated that I was relieved, and I could not hand you either of those things. So I called it school. Here is what I expected. Anger, or her walking off. Or at minimum her stopping holding my hoodie. What she did was go quiet and pink and look at me the way you look at somebody who has finally arrived somewhere. Because it matched. It matched the thing on her phone. Same voice, same rhythm, same habit of dropping the important sentence at the end like a coin into a slot. I had just spent the most honest 20 seconds of my year proving that the fake me was real. That is exactly what you wrote to me at 1 in the morning. And she left me on the landing with my own sweatshirt over my arm. All through third period the questions came, and not one of them was "Are you all right?" Jihoon got in first. "Is it true you want her back? Is it true Soyeon knows?" Then Nari, leaning over the back of a chair. "Is the gray hoodie a message? A hoodie is a hoodie." I said that out loud to a girl who had already decided otherwise. By fourth period, the hoodie was a message. I denied every one of them, and every no made it better, because in this school a denial is just the shape of a thing that happened. Here is what our school actually believes, and no teacher ever taught it. If somebody shows you a screen, the words on it happened out loud. By the face in the little circle. You can stand there breathing and denying, and the screen still wins, because the screen never gets nervous and you always do. At lunch I watched Soyeon do something I did not understand at all. She did not go to Yerin. Everybody in that dining hall expected her to go to Yerin. There were people turned all the way around on their benches, holding forks. She went to Jihoon. I was close enough to hear, because I had put myself close enough to hear, which is not a thing I am proud of. Soyeon put her tray down in front of Jihoon and gave her a time. Saturday afternoon, the hour before the Pearl Arcade shuts. Can you find what was sent then? Jihoon loves a question more than an audience. She had it before I finished chewing, which tells you something about Jihoon and possibly something about how I eat. 2 long ones, right in the middle of it. Jihoon read it off her screen without being asked twice. Soyeon did not blink. He was with me. The pearl claw machine ate my money and he argued with the men at the counter until they put the lights out on us. Jihoon looked up slowly from the screen. So he did not write these. Correct. Soyeon went straight past it like a woman stepping over a puddle. So you can end this in one sentence. That came from Jihoon, who had already opened the app to do it. Soyeon looked at her a while. Why would I do that? Because it is true. That is the only thing I do. I put up the true one. And then what happens? Soyeon let her answer it herself. Then everybody knows. Jihoon shrugged, because to her that has always been the end of every sentence. Then everybody knows he did not type it. And everybody goes on thinking exactly what they were already thinking about why his ex is walking round this school with his sweatshirt. Jihoon opened her mouth and closed it again. I have watched this place clear somebody before. It takes a morning, then it finds a better reason. That annoyed me, and annoying is usually how a true thing arrives. She had settled the whole question of who typed before her food got cold, with 1 hour and her own memory as the ruler. Then she put it down and went after something else, and she was not telling me what. I caught Jihoon by the trays afterwards, which was not my best work. You knew the times. You have known since this morning. So you filmed the hoodie instead. She stacked her tray without hurrying. Was the hoodie not true? Did I add anything? Did I write one word underneath it? No. Then what exactly is your complaint? And I did not have one. That is the thing about her. She has never lied about me in her life, and she has done more damage than everybody who has. So naturally I went and did the stupidest available thing. Took my phone to Soyeon in the dining hall, at the loudest hour of the day, 3 tables from where Hyunwoo was sitting with the salt. I held it out with my messages open, my sent folder open, my login list open. I had spent most of a chemistry lesson learning where a login list lives. Look. There is nothing there. Look at the times. Look at the device names. She looked at me, and not at the phone. Jihoon. Put that away. I am proving it. Then what are we doing? Half that hall had stopped chewing. She did not lower her voice for them, and she did not raise it either. I am waiting to see what you do when you cannot prove anything. Is this a test? Everything in this building is a test. This is the first one I have ever set myself. Then she picked up her tray and went, and I was left standing in the middle of the dining hall holding a phone out to nobody, and about 40 people watched me put it back in my pocket. Took Hyunwoo about an hour to turn my morning into a sentence. Hyunwoo has been circling Soyeon for years, patiently, the way you wait for a parking space on a street where nobody ever leaves. He was 3 tables away with a fork in the air, and he understood what he was watching immediately, because he wanted to. By the end of lunch he had it polished. Hyunwoo delivered it standing, to a whole table of them, Donggo and Jihoon and a boy called Taewon, with the salt still in his hand. He does it to everyone at once. He is running 2 of them in a circle and hoping neither one turns round. Donggo laughed first, then tried it out himself to check he had it right. A good sentence does not have to be true. It only has to be short enough to repeat. Within a day it came back to me from people who had no idea it started 3 meters from the salt. I walked past his table. Problem. Say it to me, not to them. He put the salt down, which I took as a compliment, and turned his chair to face me so the whole table could watch him do it. All right. Did you write those messages? No. Do you know who did? Yes. Are you going to say the name? Not today. Then what do you want from me? That was Hyunwoo, and the whole table was looking at me, and I stood there with my mouth open like a boy in a photograph. That is when his sentence stopped being an opinion and became a fact, and I helped. Bora caught up with me in the corridor afterward. Bora has been Yerin's friend since spring and has never once liked me, which at least makes her easy to read. She is happy. Do you understand that? She has been unbearable since Saturday. I am aware. Do you know what she did on Sunday? She changed her whole timetable so she would come past your form room twice. I did not know that. No. You never do. So whatever this is with you and Soyeon, finish it properly. Do not do the thing where you go quiet. I am not going quiet. You are the world champion of going quiet. Then she walked off, and she was not wrong, and I had no way of telling her that the loudest version of me in this building was somebody else entirely. My phone went twice on the way to 6th period. Both from Yerin. The first one, sorry about this morning, I did not mean to do it in front of her. The second one, are you going to answer me tonight? I stood in the stairwell by the fire door and looked at that for a long time, and then I put the phone away without answering it. And I found out afterwards that Yerin had been in the dining hall when Hyunwoo stood up with the salt. 2 tables away, with her back to him. She did not turn round and she did not argue. She looked at me instead, patiently, because in her version I was a boy under pressure who would come to his senses by evening. That is the thing about being talked about in a room. Everybody in it is right about something, and none of it is you. I had 4 hours left on Soyeon's clock and a friend who could not speak in front of a crowd. My plan consisted entirely of surviving until 4:10. Minsu had a better plan and kept it to himself. 5th period, he went and found Soyeon on his own. I only know how it went because she gave it to me afterwards, word for word, in the flat voice she keeps for other people's sentences. Jihoon did not write any of it. Who did? And he stood there with his hands in his pocket until she stopped waiting. Then ask yourself who else knows all of his stories. And he left. It is a good sentence. I hated it immediately. He gave her a mouth. He did not give her a name. He handed over half of what she wanted, then sat down in class and did not look at me again all day. I caught him at the bike racks. You went to her. Why? I bought you until tomorrow. Because you were going to lose her by 4 o'clock. So fix it. Go back in there and finish the sentence. He unlocked his bike, which took him a while, because his hands were doing the thing they do. There were 2 people in that corridor. Her and me. That is the most I have ever managed. Then bring 1 more. Bring me, and I will stand next to you. He put the chain down. Say I do nothing at all. Say I let it run. What happens to her? She keeps writing at 11. To the account. And what happens to you? He looked at the chain for a while and did not answer that either. That is not how it works. I know exactly how it works. I walked you home in 2nd year. Then you know. You gave her a riddle, not my name. I gave her what I could do. And that was true, and I did not want it to be. Then do you want me to tell Yerin tonight? I stood there in the middle of a term I was losing and could not answer him. 1 answer got my girlfriend back. The other cost him the only month he had ever had. He waited. I did not fill it. Then he wrote off, and the answer was no by default, and nobody had to say it out loud. Then the last bell went off over the yard like a starting pistol. I got to the gate before she did, which is the only part of that day I did on purpose. No name, no mouth, and my one move already spent. Then Yerin came out with her bag on one shoulder and stopped a step closer than I expected. Well, that was a day. I do not have the name. She nodded like somebody ticking a box she had drawn that morning. I know you do not. Your friend came to see you, did he? She was not smiling. She was not doing the other thing either. I am changing the rule. I did not follow. Nobody tells anybody the truth. Not you. Not him. Not your ex. Not until I say so. Produced something extremely intelligent. I believe it was, what? And Yerin put her bag down on the concrete so she could use both hands. Do you know what my life is? Ever since I got here, everyone in this school has been talking to a photograph of me. They have whole opinions. They have arguments with me that I am not in. Boys I have never spoken to are angry at me for things I did inside their heads. She was not upset. She sounded like somebody reading out a bill. And now there is a version of you that is louder than you are. It is charming. It knows all your stories. Half this school likes it better than they like you. That is not fair. Today you tried to fix it with a phone. Yes, so I want to see what you do when the phone does not work. That is the whole of it. I tried the obvious one on her. You could end this yourself. That would be easier for you. Yes. It would. Then why not? Because it is the first time in years that anything in this building has been interesting. That is a horrible reason. It is the only honest one I have. Then can I ask one more thing? If somebody else gives you the name tomorrow, before I do anything at all, does that count? She thought about it properly. No. Because then I would still know nothing about you. She picked up her bag. You have my number. Do not send me evidence. Wait, can I ask you one thing? She stopped. If I do nothing at all, do I lose? She took the question seriously, which is rare in a school gate conversation. If you do nothing at all, then in about a week everyone will have decided who you are, and you will have to be him. I am not punishing you with that. It is simply what the place does. And if I do the wrong thing, then at least it will be yours. And she walked out through the gate, and I stood there doing the mathematics. Somewhere in that building was a boy who could not get a sentence out in front of a crowd. He had been me since the summer, and his borrowed day had run out. Somewhere on the Yangjae bus was a girl who thought I had finally come back to her. She had kept my hoodie since April and now had it back in her bag. And I had just been forbidden from clearing myself by the only person who could clear me. I went to the shop on the way home because I always did. Eiju put a bowl down and wrote it in the book, the way he had for 2 years. Long day. You could say that. Yerin came home smiling this morning. Do you know anything about that? And I shook my head. It was the first lie of the whole day, and it went to the men who had fed me on credit since the first winter I walked in. He put the book back under the counter without adding anything up. Eat. You look like a wall came down on you. He did not know yet. I went home and lay on my bed with the phone on my chest and did not open anything. Then I opened it anyway. The account was still there. It still had my face on it, squinting, holding the ice cream, being charming at somebody in my name. At 11 it came online. I could have written to her. My phone was in my hand. Her number was in it. I have had it since we were children. I did not send anything. I watched the little word sit under my own photograph. Then it went away, which meant he was typing. He typed for a long time. The word came back and went away again, and came back. Then the screen went dark by itself and I lay there with one arm over my eyes and did not manage anything better than that. In the morning Yerin was already inside the gate, waiting where the buses turn. Saturday. You asked me last night. Did I? 3rd Street. The place with the dog. You are getting there first and taking the corner table. I have never once got anywhere first in my life. I know. That is why it was nice. She was pleased. Not smug about it either. Pleased, the way you are when somebody finally starts trying. I found Minsu behind the stairwell before the first bell, which by then had become an address. You made a plan with her. I did not think she would say yes. She always says yes. That is her entire operating system. What were you going to do on Saturday? Sit outside and watch me not turn up? He looked at the drinks machine, which was becoming a habit for both of us. Here is where I stopped waiting for him to be reasonable. You are going to go to her. Today. With your face. You do not have to explain anything, you do not owe anybody an apology, you say 4 words and then you can run. Which 4? I do not know. It was your account. He did not go that day. Stood outside the shop on 3rd Street for the better part of an hour on the Wednesday and went home again without knocking. He told me that himself afterwards. He went on the Thursday, and that is the thing I have to give him. Nobody made him go and he went. He waited outside the shop on 3rd Street, under the Jihoon market awning, past the Yangtze Fish Row, until Yerin came out with the rubbish, because one person on a back step he can just about survive. He stood there. She waited. She is good at waiting, which is the single most dangerous thing about her. And he opened his mouth, and something came out of it, and it was not the 4 words. I heard about it that evening from her, which is how I heard about most of my own life that week. Your friend came to the shop. She was on the phone and walking, so the sentences came short. I know. He was very strange about it. He kept looking at the wall. And what did he tell you? That you sent him. I sat down on the edge of my bed, and then I stood up again, and then I sat down. That you wanted to talk properly, but not at school, because of her, and that you would work out the timing. That is not a sentence I have ever produced in my life. He was very careful with it. He had it ready. Then he stood there for another minute looking at the bins and then he left. Did he give you his own name? Why would he? I have known his name since we were children. And you believed him. Why would he lie about it? He is your friend. He is not exactly built for lying. Everybody that week was right about the small thing in front of them and wrong about the shape of it, and I could not get anybody to look up. So now there were 2 versions of me in the world, the one on the account, who was brave at midnight. And a new one, who was so frightened of his own girlfriend that he sent a messenger to his ex. I preferred the account. Taeju found out on Thursday, and he did not find out from me. Yerin came home that evening and did the thing she does when she is happy, which is talk to her brother while she puts things away, and she let out that she was seeing me on Saturday. He put a bowl down in front of me on Friday and did not write it in the book, and that was how I knew. Mrs. Ryu was through the bead curtain doing the accounts with the Sangdo radio on, which meant whatever was coming was going to come quietly. It was raining hard enough that the Jihoon awning had a bow in it and was letting go of the water in one long rope onto the step. 2 years he has written everything in that book. Bowls, drinks, the time I brought Minsu and neither of us had anything. He has never once asked me for it. He just writes it down, and the writing down is the point. Twice. Twice what? Twice this year she has come home with that face. In April she cried in the Jangon storeroom half the evening and would not let our mother in. I did not know that. No. You would not. He is a big man who moves very slowly, and he was folding a cloth while it came out, and that was somehow worse than shouting. I am not doing anything to her. Then somebody is, and I do not care which of you it is. Taeju, ask her yourself. He went on folding the cloth. Everything is always fine. April was fine too, apparently. It looks like a girl coming in at 9 and eating standing up and going straight through to the back. He had already been to the school. He mentioned it at the door, on the way out, the way you mention the weather. He had gone in that morning and filled in a form about an account with my photograph on it. I want you to notice what he did not do. He did not come round and hit me. He did not put anything online. He went to a building and got a piece of paper started, because that is what you do when you are 24 and tired and your sister will not let you in on anything. The paper reached Miss Han before lunch. Miss Han taught me for 2 years and wrote the letter that got me into the film club, which is the only thing in my life that has ever been described in writing as promising. He had the form face down on the desk when I came in, which was a courtesy, and she turned it over anyway, which was not. Do you know what this is? I can guess. Somebody has opened an account with your name and your photographs on it and been contacting a student from this school. Her family has reported it. That is not a rumor, it is a form, and it has a box on it for a name. She turned it round so I could see the box. It was the only empty thing on the page. Was it her brother? I am not going to answer that. And by not answering it she answered it, which is a thing adults do and then look surprised about. I need the name by Monday. And if I do not have one, then I write down the name that is on the account. Which is yours? And then it stops being about who typed and starts being about what is in your file. That is not fair. Forms do not have a field for fair. Then let me bring you the person on Tuesday. Monday. Cannot do it by Monday. There is a reason and it is a real one. Then tell me the reason. And she waited, and she meant it kindly. I could not give it to her. The reason was a boy who once stood at the front of her own classroom and made no sound at all. She had been in that room. She had forgotten. She had a report to close. She spent the entire conversation being sorry for the wrong person, and the wrong person was me. She wrote something in the corner of the form and carried it through to the Hanwol office herself, where Ms. Jong stamped it without reading it, and then she looked at me for a second longer than she needed to. Jihoon, whoever this is, they are not going to get a better week than this one to own up in. I know. People think a form is the punishment. The form is the mercy. The punishment is what happens in the corridor while there is no form. That is how I ended up with the only clock in this story. Not a threat. Not an enemy. A woman with a piece of paper who wanted her desk clear before the weekend. Soi Yeon broke her own rule on Friday afternoon, and nobody mentioned it to me until the evening, which is probably the only reason it worked. She did not go to Yerin to fight. She went to ask a question, and the question was this. What does he give you that I never get? Yerin had it ready. Of course she had it ready. She had been reading it for a month. He told me the radio story properly, right to the end, including the bit at the end, where his grandmother kept it on the dead station for years after his grandfather stopped being able to hear it. Soi Yeon did not move. He wanted to know what I eat when nobody is watching. He liked that I walk when I am upset. He was tired of things being true quietly. Anything else? He apologized for April. Nobody has ever apologized to me for anything before, so I would have noticed. Is that all of it? No. But you did not ask for all of it. You wanted the things he has never given you. Soi Yeon took that. She did not flinch and she did not leave. Can I ask you one more thing? Ask. When he writes to you, does he ever mention me? And Yerin, who had been reading the answer to that for a month and had no idea what she was holding, sometimes. Not much. Why? No reason. And then Soi Yeon let it go. She had the whole thing in her hands, the timestamps, the arcade, all of it, and she could have put it on the table and walked out of that conversation as the winner. She thanked her and left. By the time I got to the bus stop, Soi Yeon was already there with the list in her head. He tells you things. He does not exist. I started to say that the boy on the account was not real, and she cut across me. I meant you, because I have been standing next to you for 19 days and you have not given me one thing. Not one. You have given me my hair and a film and your bus timetable. There is a bench at that stop with a hole in it where somebody took the middle slat out years ago, and I sat on the end of it, and I started. Out loud. To her. In whatever order it came, that I keep the ticket from the first film we saw in the pocket of a coat I do not wear. That when she agreed on that Thursday I walked home the long way, because I did not want to arrive anywhere yet. I had been counting the days, and I knew the number, and knowing the number was the most embarrassing fact about me. That I checked the fire cabinet glass every morning to see whether I still look like somebody she would stand next to. That when Hyunwoo talks about her at lunch I go and stand somewhere else, because I agree with every word of it, and agreeing with him is the humiliating bit. It was not good. It came out sideways and in the wrong order and I stopped twice in the middle. Halfway through, the Yongjae bus came into the Baekma stop. Neither of us moved. The driver waited, then he leaned out and asked if we were getting on, then he did not wait. An old woman on the bench opposite watched all of it with open interest and no shame whatsoever. Keep going. That was the old woman on the opposite bench, and she was not aiming it at me. She aimed it at Soi Yeon. Soi Yeon was quiet a while. That is the worst version of that I have ever heard. I know. Do it again tomorrow. People started liking me. Not believing me, liking me. Somebody saw us at the stop and by Saturday morning there was a version going round in which I had confessed something at a bus stop and missed a bus over it, and in this school that is practically an opera. Sejin from the film club asked whether it was true I had cried. I had not cried. By the afternoon I had cried. Hyunwoo came and sat down opposite me at lunch, which took a certain amount of nerve, and I will give him that and nothing else. So you did a speech at a bus stop. It was not a speech. Everybody is saying it was a speech. It was mostly stopping. He turned his cup round on the table a few times. I have been trying to talk to her for 3 years. 3 years, and the best I have ever managed is asking whether she is going to the festival. Then he did the thing that made the whole lunch worse, which was ask me how. How what? How you did it? At the stop. What do you actually say to her? And I sat there with a tray in front of me and gave him nothing at all. He waited a while. Then he got up and took his tray, and on the way past, if you are lying about all of this I am going to enjoy it very much. Fair enough. It was the smallest I felt all week, and nobody in that hall even saw it happen. Dongo, who had laughed at me across a table on Tuesday, held a door. He from the film club, who has never once looked up from a monitor for me, put a thumb up without comment and then went back down into the monitor. Sejin, who edits for us, asked whether she could use the bus stop in something, and I refused, and she is going to anyway. Miss Han passed me in the corridor and did not look at me the way she had looked at me on Friday, which was almost worse, because it meant the corridor had reached her too. For about a day and a half I was, of all things, popular. I had also, somewhere in all of that, agreed to be in the noodle place on 3rd Street on Saturday evening, at a corner table, first. I went. That is the stupidest sentence in this whole account and I am leaving it in. I got there before 6 and I took the corner table and I sat in it with my coat still on, because it was the first thing anybody had asked me to do all week that I could actually do. I had a plan for it too. I was going to hand her all of it, at a table, in a public place, quietly, with nobody filming. Chai-won was not. I had not thought about that. She had spent the week as the person who knew everything, and then Yerin cut her out at the notice board, and then Soyeon walked past her to go and talk to Yerin directly. By Saturday morning the two people whose lives she had been reporting on were talking to each other and neither of them was talking to her. She came and stood next to me at the drinks machine on Saturday and she was perfectly friendly, which should have frightened me. Everybody is very fond of you today. For now. You did that at a bus stop with nobody filming. That is almost impressive. Thank you. Do you know what I have been doing all week? Nothing. Not one thing since the middle of it. Why not? Because nobody has handed me anything worth putting up. She smiled at me, and I smiled back like an idiot at a bus timetable. How long have you been doing the chat? Since my sister was in this school. 6 years, on and off. Why? She thought about it, which I had not expected either. Because when I was in first year somebody made up a thing about me and it went round for 2 months. Nobody ever checked. Decided I would be the one who checks. That is almost noble. I know. And then Yerin ordered me to take something down in front of the whole notice board, and your girlfriend walked past me to talk to her instead, and I have been the only person in this building with nothing to do since midweek. So do something. I intend to. She posted the rest of the chat at 4 o'clock that afternoon. Not what I had already seen. The rest of it. Everything I had never scrolled far enough down to reach, because I had stopped reading at the place where it got embarrassing and had not gone on to the place where it got unforgivable. Because here is the thing about writing to a girl as somebody else. You have to explain why that somebody else is with another girl. So for 5 weeks, in my name, in my rhythm, my best friend had been quietly running Soyeon down. She is easy to be with because there is nothing to be with. You cannot really talk to her. You look at her. It is not the same activity. And the one that finished it. The one Chai-won put at the top, because Chai-won has a genuine talent. She is a poster on a wall. You cannot date a poster. Yerin had been reading that for a month. That is why she was so certain. The boy on the account was not charming at her. He was already leaving somebody, out loud, 4 weeks. I found Soyeon in the corridor outside the music room with her phone in her hand and about 11 people pretending to be somewhere else. I did not write that. I know. Then you know it is not mine. She looked up, and I watched her decide, and I watched her not enjoy deciding. The poster. Where does that come from? I did not answer, so she answered for me. Because I have heard it. Not from you. From the two of you, last year, on the stairs by the yard, when you were carrying that machine up for the film club. Somebody made a joke about me and the two of you laughed for a long time. The stairs by the yard. June. The vending machine. We carried it up from the yard in June because Miss Han asked us to. It took most of an afternoon and we were extremely funny throughout. I do not remember which of us started it, and that is not a defense. So I gave her the only thing I had. He typed it. Fine. Where did he get it? From me. Yes. I do not remember saying it. I know you do not. That is what you should think about. It was not a big moment for you. It was a Tuesday. I was going to bring you all of it. All of what? That your friend runs an account. I have known something was wrong since the arcade. That is not the news. Then what is the news? That the two of you have a word for me. And that he did not have to make it up. She put her phone in her bag, and she did it slowly, and that was the worst thing in the whole day, because I have seen her put a phone away fast and angry and it means nothing. I made it clear I did not care who typed it. I meant it. I have not changed my mind. I have found out what was in it. Soyeon. You did not write those messages. You said all of them. She went past me. Somebody stepped out of the way, and then somebody else did, and the corridor opened up for her the way it always does, and she went through it without looking at anybody. Bora was standing by the window with two others and she did not offer me a single word, which from Bora is a review. And then the corridor did what corridors do, and I stood in the middle of it like a man watching his own house. Nobody asked who typed it. Not one person, in 4 minutes. She must have known, Nari said, to nobody in particular. Everybody knows what people call her. That is not the point. Then what is the point, Bora? He laughed at it. That is the point. Somebody typed it and he had already laughed at it first. Dango, who is incapable of leaving anything alone, wanted to know whether that even counted as him. It counts, Bora told him, and nobody at that window disagreed. Not one of them had asked whose fingers were on it. They had gone straight to whether it is fair to hold a true thing against a person, which is the conversation you have about something somebody actually said. I had spent a week proving something that had stopped mattering, and while I was doing it the true thing had walked round behind me. I did not go after her. I went to Yerin. There were 2 people I could have gone to that evening. I went to the one who would let me finish a sentence. She was on the wall outside the shop, and it was starting to get dark, and she moved her bag off the step for me before I had asked. None of it was me. She did not react, so I went again, with the whole thing behind it. 5 weeks, the account, the photograph, the radio story, the apology for April, the boy at midnight, the 4 words at the back step, the name of my best friend, all of it, in one go, badly, in the cold. He listened to the end. She did not interrupt once, and she did not once look at me like a girl being told she had been made a fool of. When I finished she moved along the step so I could sit down. That is not what you do to the person who has just wrecked 2 months of your life. Say the last part again. I have never sent you a single thing. Not that night. Not any night since April. She looked out at the street for a while. Somewhere up 3rd Street a shutter came down. Then why did I keep answering him? Because everything in it was yours. Every single thing. The radio, the dog, your father, why April happened. He did not invent one of them. He is not clever enough to invent them and I am not stupid enough to have missed it. That is not the same as me. It is closer than you have ever come. That is a terrible thing to put on somebody. I am not being cruel. For a month I have had the version of you that finishes sentences, and I want to know why that version had to be somebody else's job. Did you never think about stopping? Every night. And then it would get to 11. You could have written to me yourself any day since April. You have my number. And she laughed, once, with no comedy in it at all. So could you. So here is where I was, sitting on a step in the cold with my hands in my sleeves. I had spent a week trying to give this back to Soyeon, to the corridor, to a form on a desk. And the one person I finally managed to give it to did not want to give it back at all. She was not angry that he had done it. She was not embarrassed. She was somewhere past both of those. So what do you want? I want to see him. Not a name on a form. Not a message. Him, standing in front of me, with his face, so I can look at whoever has been talking to me since July. I can do that on Monday. No. Before you do anything, for your teacher, before her, before anybody puts a name in a box. Me first. And that was it. Miss Han wanted a name by Monday. And Yerin wanted a face before the name. And Minsu, who had to supply both, could not stand in front of 2 people at once. Why does it have to be his face? You know everything already. I have just given you all of it. Because I have been in love with somebody since the summer, and I would like to find out whether he exists. He exists. He is a boy who cannot order his own food if the queue is long. Then that is what I want to see. And if he cannot do it, then he cannot do it. And I will know that too, and I will stop. She was very calm about it. That is what I could not get past. Somewhere in that week she had gone from the girl who grabbed my arm at the lockers to somebody sitting on a step in the cold, setting terms, in order. Do you want me to be there? I said. Yes. Why? Because he will not come otherwise. And she was right, and both of us knew exactly how she knew it. I said yes. What else was there? Minsu deleted the account on Sunday. He did not mention it. I found out the way everybody finds out anything, which is that Yerin sent me a screenshot of a chat with nobody at the top of it. The photograph was gone. The name was gone. 5 weeks of messages had become a gray line and a sentence about the account no longer existing. I called him. He picked up straight away. Say something. What do you want me to say? Anything. You have been talking for 5 weeks. You were extremely good at it. Do some of it now. Why? Because she knows now. So there is nothing left in it. There was the proof, I said. That was the only object in the world with the times on it. The times were the only thing I had. He was quiet for a second. You do not need it. She already knows. She is one person. There is a form on a desk with a box on it. Then put my name in the box. Say that again. Put my name in the box. Say it to somebody who is not me. And there it was, the whole thing, in 5 words, and I heard myself do it and I did not take it back. He did not hang up. He stayed on the line and breathed, and I sat in my room with my ears going hot, and neither of us said anything for a long time. Then she asked me to come on Saturday. I know. I was there when she asked. I am going to try. That is not the same as coming. I know what it is not. I could not. He knew I could not. Yerin had asked me for a face first, and I had said yes, and he had heard about it from her before he heard about it from me, which by then was simply how information moved. And there was one more thing in that phone call, sitting underneath it, and I walked straight past it. He had all of it in his head and nobody else did. Which line came from a real afternoon? Which one he had shaped a bit? Which one he had made up entirely, because he wanted to give her something that was his? The account was gone. The messages were gone. The only remaining copy of where every word in that chat came from was inside the one person who could not say anything out loud. Monday was in 14 hours. Monday arrived the way Mondays do, which is early and without asking anybody. Miss Han had the form out on the desk before I got my bag off my shoulder, with a pen lined up beside it, the way you line things up when you have already decided not to argue. Sit down. I would rather stand. Sit down anyway. I sat down. The order of what happened next matters, so here it is, in order. I did not refuse to give her a name. I gave her every reason I had, out loud, one at a time, and I let her knock each one over. I can bring you the person tomorrow. The report closes today. He will not be able to speak in a room with 2 adults in it. Nerves are not what this is. Something happens to him in rooms and he cannot get round it. Does he have a doctor? No. Then it is not something I can put in a box. If his name goes down today he is out of this school inside a week, and there is somebody who has to see his face before that happens. Who? And there it was. Because the answer was Yerin, and Yerin's brother had signed the form, and the moment I said her name the whole thing became a family and stopped being a report. So I did not say it. Is the person in this school? I am not answering that either. Then you are protecting somebody at your own cost. And you are 17, and you think that is a noble thing to do, and I have watched 4 boys do it in this room and every one of them regretted it by the spring. What happened to the 4 boys? He did not like that question. That is how I knew the answer. Miss Han waited a long time. Long enough that the radiator came on, which in that room is roughly a minute and a half. Then she turned the form round and pushed the pen across. I wrote my own name in the box. She looked at it for a while without picking it up. Is that a confession? No. Then what am I holding? The only true thing on the page, I said. Somebody used my name. That is my name. Jihoon, there is no box on there for what actually happened. I checked. I read the whole form while you were talking. She put it in the folder. She did not slam anything, which somehow made it worse, and she did not look at me for the last of it. You understand this does not stay in this room. I understand. No. You are 17 and you think you understand. It goes to the office, and the office moves people, and I do not get a say in where. Inside 2 days I was out of my form room. That is what a name in a box actually does. It does not get you shouted at. It gets you moved to the afternoon group, which is the old music room past the boiler door, on the Suha side, where they put people while something is being decided about them. It is not a punishment class. Mr. Guac marks a subject he does not teach us and looks up twice an hour to count heads. He has never once found a different number, and he has never once looked disappointed about it either. On my first afternoon he counted, found me, asked which one I was, wrote it down and forgot it. Yuna moved her bag off the chair beside her without looking up, and that was the whole of my welcome, and it was better than anything that happened to me in the corridor that week. Corridor with the lockers. The fire door. The stairwell with the drinks machine. Anywhere at all on the route that anybody I know walks between lessons. They did not throw me out of the school. They took me off the map of it. Nobody gave me a date. That is the part one had not expected. There was no hearing and no deadline and no form left to fill in. There was just a room at the end of the science corridor and a name in a box that was mine until somebody else claimed it. There is exactly one point where the afternoon group crosses the rest of the building, and that is the top of the science stairs at 20 to 2. So that is where I stood, every day, like a man waiting for a bus that has been cancelled. I did it 4 days running, and it went the way that sort of thing goes. Twice she came past on the far side with Bora. Once she did not come at all. On the last of them she came past alone and I got as far as her name. She kept walking. It was not cruelty. It was somebody with a lesson to get to and nothing to add. Then Mr. Guac came and stood at the bottom of the stairs and waited for me without saying anything, and I went back to the room. That is the thing nobody tells you about being moved. It is not dramatic. You are simply not in the places anymore, and after a week the places carry on without you, and they do it very easily. Minsu did not come back either. He had my signature on a form in a folder in an office, which meant he was clear, and he did what people do when somebody has just paid for them, which is stay away. He started leaving through the yard. I tried once, at the bike racks, which had been ours for 4 years. He saw me coming and he got the chain off faster than he has ever got a chain off anything. Minsu. I have to go. I signed it. Do you know that? My name is in the box. I know. Thank you. He got on the bike and went, and that is the entire conversation, and the thank you was the worst thing in it. Because a thank you closes a thing. A thank you is what you give somebody when the two of you are finished. And then, on Thursday, he did something I did not expect at all, which was talk. Not to me. To 3 other people, over about a day, in the way things travel in that school, which is sideways. The version was this. Jihoon knew about the account the whole time. He knew in August. He thought it was funny, and he let it run, and he only started shouting about it when his girlfriend found out. Dongo asked me about it at the vending machine, because Dongo asks everybody everything, and that is how I found out. Is it true you knew in August? No. He is saying you did. He is saying it to who? To people, which is the most complete answer anybody gave me all month. Yerin heard it by the Tuesday, and Yerin does not do what I do, which is stand about hoping a thing will settle. She found me at the gate with her coat still buttoned wrong from running. Saturday, she said. The noodle place. 6 o'clock, the corner table, 3 chairs, and both of you in them. Both of us. I have spent 2 months hearing about you through other people's mouths, and this week I have heard about you through 3 more. I am done with mouths. Saturday. And that was the clock. Not a form, not an office, not a date somebody wrote in a folder. A girl with her coat buttoned wrong, giving me 5 days. Jihoon had it by Friday. Nari had it by Friday afternoon, with an improvement, because a story picks things up as it goes. Now the 2 of us had run the account together and fallen out over which of us got to keep it. By the weekend it had reached the Haiwan library, where Sungo told it to Miryang, and Miryang put in a detail about the Namsan overpass that had never happened to anybody. I heard that one from a boy in the year below, in a queue, being told to somebody else. It is a strange thing, standing in a queue while a stranger explains your life to another stranger, and getting the shape right and every single fact wrong. I did not go and find Minsu. I stood at the top of the science stairs with the yard door in front of me and did not open it, and I could call that maturity. It was not. I had no idea what I was going to do to him when I got there, and that frightened me more. Because here is what his version does, and it is clever, and he is not a clever person, which means he needed it badly. If I knew in August, then my signature on that form stops being a favor and turns into a man settling his own bill. He had spent 4 days being somebody who owed me everything. He could not carry that, so he put it down. And it worked. Not on everybody. On enough. By Friday there were people in that building who had decided I was a boy who ran a fake account with his friend and cried at a bus stop when it came apart, and there is no form in any office that fixes that one. Then I did the only useful thing I did that whole week. I went and found Chai-won. She was at the notice board, which is where she is when she is not doing anything, and she had not posted since that Saturday, and it was starting to show on her the way not eating shows on people. I want you to put all of it up. He looked at me. All of it. The whole chat, both halves, from July. The times on every message. The account name, the photograph, the day it was deleted. Everything you kept. Why? Because you have got it and everybody knows you have got it, and every day you sit on it, the version in the corridor gets 1 day older and 1 day harder. She did not answer straight away. If I put that up, the timestamps clear you. And the second half destroys you, you know that. I know. The second half is worse than the version they have now. I know that too. Then what exactly do you want out of it? I gave her the true answer, which is that I did not know, and that I was extremely tired, and that I would rather be finished than be pending. Say that again. I would rather be finished than pending. She wrote it down. Not on her phone. She wrote it on the corner of a sheet pinned to the notice board, with a pencil, which I had never once seen her do. Then she looked at the board a long time. Then she started taking the pins out. No. I am not putting it up. That is your whole thing. That is what you do. She kept pulling pins, and the notices came down into her hand one at a time, and the last one she took down was the bus stop. Somebody had printed it. 6 seconds, no sound, a boy talking to a girl at the Beckma stop with his hands in his sleeves. It had been on that board 4 days and it was the only reason anybody in the building had been kind to me all week. She folded it in half and put it in her bag. You cannot do that. I can. You asked me for the feed, and this is what the feed is. I know what I do, and I have been doing it since first year and I have never once had somebody come and ask me for it. She picked her bag up off the floor. It is not the same when you ask. When you ask, I am just a boy shouting in a corridor with a bigger voice. That is not what I am. She posted nothing. Not that day, not the next, not once more that term. The chat that had carried every turn of this since July went quiet in the hand of the one person holding it, and I had asked for that without knowing what I was asking. He just stopped feeding it, and a thing in that school that is not fed goes quiet in about a week, and I had to live in every hour of that week. Hyunwoo asked Soi-yeon out that same week. He did it properly, which I have to give him. Not in front of anybody. He waited by the gate and he asked her whether she wanted to get a coffee, once, no speech, and she said yes. I found out because this school has never kept a single thing quiet in its history. I would like to tell you I was calm about it. Instead, I walked from the science corridor to the gate in about 90 seconds. Then I stood on the other side of the road like a lamp post and watched them go into a coffee shop. The place is called the Makhwa, on the corner of Wangsimni, and it has a window the size of a wall, which I am sure was designed to torture exactly one person. They were in there most of an hour. She had her hands round the cup the whole time. He talked, and she listened, and twice she laughed, and I have watched Soi-yeon laugh at things she did not find funny for 3 years and this was not that. He was not doing anything wrong. That is the thing that made me want to put my head through a window. He had waited 3 years and never once cornered her, and then 2 weeks after she left me he asked her one clean question, and she said yes because it was one clean question, and because for once nobody in the room wanted anything from her. She came out first. He stayed to pay, which he would. And she saw me. Straight across the road, no traffic, nothing to hide behind. She looked at me for about 2 seconds and then she went up Yerin Street without a word, and the 2 seconds contained more than the whole week had. Went back to the afternoon group and sat down next to Yuna and did not open anything for 2 hours. Are you all right, from the next chair, at the end of it, without looking up. No. All right. She went back to her page, and that was the correct thing to do and nobody else in that building managed it. Yerin got to Minsu on the Friday, and she did it in a corridor, and by then there was nothing left of my day that could get worse, so of course something did. She did not shout. That is not her. She stood in front of him by the science rooms with people going past on both sides and she put the thing quietly into the air and it went everywhere anyway. I do not believe you. He did not move. I do not believe the August thing. I do not believe he knew. And until you show me something, you are just a boy covering for his friend, and I have been talking to you all autumn and I do not know which of you I was talking to. That is the sentence that finished it, and I do not think she meant it the way it landed. She was frightened, and frightened comes out flat. He heard a challenge, because he had nothing else in the world by then except the one thing nobody could take off him. He knew where every word came from. So he gave her one. He stood in that corridor with Kyungmin and Yerin slowing down to listen. And he told her exactly what I had said about her in April, a week after we ended it, in the yard behind the gym, while we kicked a ball at a wall. I will not put it down here, and it is not unbearable. It is small. That is the whole trouble with it. It was one short sentence about somebody who had cried in a storeroom half the evening, and I said them to make a boy laugh on a Tuesday, and I forgot them by dinner, and he did not. Yerin listened to the end. Then she asked him one question, and it is the only part of it I would keep. Did he ever take it back? And Minsu, who had every line in that chat in his head, and who could have finished me in one word, stood in that corridor with Kyungmin watching him and told her the truth. No. But he never said it twice either. She thanked him. That is the most Yerin thing that has ever happened in this story. She thanked him, and she walked out of the science corridor, and she did not come to school on Monday. And there is the other thing about that afternoon, sitting right in the middle of it, in front of everybody. Nobody in that corridor asked him how he knew. Not one person. Kyungmin and Yerin heard a boy quote, word for word, a private sentence from a yard behind the gym 18 months ago, and every single one of them just accepted that he had it. He was the only person alive who could do that with any line in that chat, and he had just proved it in public, to an audience, without meaning to. I went to Soyeon on Saturday. I had nothing left to be proud with. She was at the shop end of Yerin Street with her mother's list, outside the Doha bakery, next to the Dalgi stationery shop where our whole year buys pens. She did not walk off, which I had prepared for and had a whole speech about. That is the first thing you have asked me for. I know. In 19 days and 2 weeks, that is the first thing. Then I am asking. Come back and I will fix all of it. She put the bag down on the wall, and she gave it real thought, and I want that written down too. She did not have it ready. She worked it out standing there in the cold with a bag of oranges. Here is the problem. The chat is not the problem. Neither is what the two of you called me. I got over that inside 2 days, and you should know that, because you have been walking round for a week thinking that is what this is. Then what is it? You have never gone first. I did the bus stop. I asked you for the bus stop. I set a condition and you met it beautifully, and it is the best thing anybody has done for me in this school. Then what do you want? She picked the bag back up. Do you know what you have been doing all week? She said. Taking things back. The account, the joke, your own name off a form, whatever it was you tried to explain to Chai-won at a notice board. That is what happened to me. I did not say it was your fault. I said it is all you have done. That is what happened to me. I know. And I do not want the boy who undoes. I want the one who says something first, when nobody has asked and nothing is on fire. She walked up Yerin Street with the oranges and did not look back. I stood outside a bakery where a girl once said all right to me in the rain, and I stood there until the woman inside started looking at me. He had the book out on the counter when I came in, and he was adding up, which he had never done in 2 years, and I knew before he turned it round. He had it to the last coin. Every bowl since I was a boy. He had gone back through the whole book with a pencil and totaled it, and the crates were stacked to the ceiling behind him because it was a Sunday and nothing had gone out. There is nothing to pay. I do not want it. I want it closed. Taeju, my sister has not been to school since Friday. She sits in the storeroom. She will not tell my mother why. That is twice. I did not do that. I know you did not. And it was the worst sentence anybody handed me all month. I know exactly who did it and I do not care. You are the door all of it comes through. Is it him? He looked at me over the counter for a long moment, and Mrs. Ryu turned the radio down in the back, which meant she was listening. I am not going to answer that. then you know. And you are standing in my shop knowing it. He shut the book. Do not come in here for a while. For how long? Until my sister eats at a table. It would be very easy to make Taeju the villain of this, and he is not one. He was a man of 24 behind a counter with a sister who would not talk to him, doing the only two things available to him, which were a form and a door. I lost the shop on Sunday. By then I had lost the form room, the corridor, the stairwell, my best friend, my girlfriend, and the only place in that neighborhood where anybody had ever fed me on trust. And on Sunday night, sitting on my bed with all of that and with Saturday coming up the week at me, I finally tried the thing I should have tried on the first morning. I tried to take one line back. Just one. Not the account, not the whole chat. I opened my own account, with my own name on it, and started typing to Soyeon. I was going to explain that the word was mine, that I said it once in June, and that it is not what I think about her. And I got exactly that far and then I stopped, and I did not send it. I took it in with me on Monday instead, to the only person in the building who would let me. Yuna had her book open and did not look up, which is her whole method. There is a word I said about somebody once, I said. In June, I want to tell her it was mine and that it is not what I think of her. Then tell her. I typed it last night. I could not send it. Why not? Because she will ask me when I said it. And Yuna turned a page and asked the one question in the world I had no answer for. Who were you saying it to? And there it was. Every single line in that chat had a day and a room, and in every day and every room there was one other person, and he was standing in it. I could not take back one sentence without handing over Minsu. Loyalty had nothing to do with it. It was arithmetic. That is where the sentence came from. That is the only way anybody would ever know it was mine. To make a word mine, I had to say who heard it first. I sat there and worked the whole chat through in my head, line by line, and it came out the same every time, and by about 1 in the morning I understood the size of the bill. And then I understood something worse, which is that Soyeon had already done this. That is what happened in the corridor outside the music room. She did not argue about who typed it. She reached into a joke and pulled out the afternoon it came from, the stairs, the yard, the machine, the two of us laughing. She had the method. I watched her use it on me and I did not recognize it as a method. I thought it was just her being right. I went through it again anyway, because it was 1 in the morning and there was nothing else to do with my hands. The radio. That was the kitchen, the night before the mock exams, and he was there, eating everything in the fridge. The dog on 3rd Street. Outside the shop, in the rain, waiting for Taeju to finish. My father's driving. A bus. A specific bus, going to a specific match, with him next to me by the window. Every single one had a room, and every single room had him in it, and that is not coincidence or sentiment. That is simply who I talk to. I put my phone face down and did not send anything. Yerin came back on Tuesday, and she came straight to the afternoon group, which nobody does. She stood in the doorway until Yuna nudged me, and then we went out into the science corridor, and she looked like somebody who had spent 4 days deciding one thing and had finished. Saturday. The noodle place. My brother is out at the market until 8. Which Saturday? This one. I am not allowed in there. I know. I am allowed, and I am asking you, and my brother can be angry about it on Sunday. She had it all worked out, and she had written it down, which broke my heart slightly. 3 chairs at the corner table. Nobody sitting on the inside where they can be blocked in. No phones on the table, not face down, not in pockets on silent, off and in bags. 6 o'clock, because that is when her brother goes to the Gyeongdong market, and 8, because that is when he comes back. And nobody speaks for the first minute. Why? Because the last 3 times I have been in a room with either of you, somebody has started talking before he knew what he was doing. Why both of us? Because I have been talking to one person and looking at another one for 2 months. I would like them in the same room once before I decide anything. And if he does not come, then that decides it. And she did not sound frightened by it, and that was new. She went to Minsu the same afternoon, and he tried the only move he had left, which was to move the date. Not this week. In a fortnight. No. After the exams, then. No. Saturday, with your face, or I go into that school on Monday and tell everybody in it who I have been writing to since July. He said something. She did not repeat it to me and I have never asked. Whatever it was, she gave him the answer that closed the week. You have been talking to me every night since the summer. You can manage a table. He tried one more time on the Thursday. Went to her at the gate and he had a piece of paper with him, folded twice, and I know that because Nari watched the whole thing and told 3 people, one of whom told me. He held it out and Yerin did not take it. She stood with her hands at her sides and let him hold that folded paper in the air between them for as long as it took. Then she gave him the answer I would have paid to be able to give myself. I have read enough of you. He did not come to the gate again, so that was where it stood. A girl who had lost 4 days of school and gained a spine. A boy who could not speak in a room and had been ordered into one. A brother who had shut a door and would find out about all of it on Sunday. And me, banned from the shop, moved off the map of my own school, holding the only piece of arithmetic that mattered and no way at all to say it out loud. I went past the shop twice on Thursday. Not in. Past. The second time Mrs. Ryu was outside stacking the Jangon crates and she saw me and she stopped, and I have known that woman since I was 11, and she did not know what to do with her hands. She is upstairs. I know. I am not coming in. Then came the only thing anybody in that family gave me that whole week that was not about a form or a door. She was very happy on Saturday morning. Before all this, she got up early and she did her hair for a table in her brother's shop. And then she went back to the crates, and I went home, and that sat in me for 2 days like a swallowed stone. 3 days. Saturday, I got to the Bengyun at 10 to 6, because I had spent a fortnight being late for everything and I was not going to be late for this one. The dog was outside. It looked at my hands, found no bags, and lost interest immediately, which is the most honest reception I got all month. Minsu was already inside. That is worth having down, because everybody afterward got it wrong too. He was there before either of us. He had taken the chair on the outside, where you cannot be blocked in, exactly the way she had written it out. And he had a piece of paper. Not the folded one from the gate. A new one. School-headed paper. The incident form, with a name in the box in his handwriting. He pushed it across before I had my coat off. Take it to Miss Han on Monday. I did not touch it, so he pushed it further. It is signed. Your file gets cleared, you get your form room back, you get the corridor back. And you, he shrugged, which from him is a whole paragraph. I am gone inside the week. My aunt has a place near the coast. There is a school. I looked at the form for a while. What was in me at that moment was a sort of hot relief, and I am not proud of it, because look at what he was offering. Everything, in 1 page. My name off the record. The version in the corridor dead by Tuesday. Yerin told, in writing, by him, with his own name on it, and me clean. Let me have the whole list out loud, because I want to hear it. He waited. I get my file cleared. I get my classroom. I get to stop being the boy who ran an account. Chaiwon puts nothing up because there is nothing left to put. Taeju opens his door. Soyeon reads a form and finds out I was telling the truth from the first morning. That is all of it, and it costs 1 thing. Minsu finished it for me. It costs me. Yes. Say the rest of it. There is no rest of it. His hands went back under the table where I could not see them. There is. You have thought about this for 2 days, so say the whole thing, because I am not signing up for half. He put his hands under the table. Go on. The rest of it is that I never have to sit here. There it is. I get a school by the coast where nobody knows any of it, and you get your corridor, and she gets a piece of paper with my name on it instead of me, and everybody is finished inside the week. And I pushed it back across the table. I want to tell you it was noble. It was not. I pushed it back because I had spent 1 whole night with a phone in my hand doing arithmetic, and a piece of paper with a name in a box does not answer a single line of it, and by then I knew exactly what did. Also because Yerin came through the door at that moment, and she had asked for a face and not a form, and I had already given away 1 promise to a person that month and it had cost me everything I owned. She stopped when she saw us. Both of us on our feet, paper in the middle of the table like a plate nobody ordered. What is that? Nothing. Yerin did not ask twice. She pulled the 3rd chair out. Nobody speaks for the first minute. She sat down. So we did not. All 3 of us sat in a noodle shop on 3rd Street in complete silence. The fridge hummed. The dog was outside. Somebody in the back was washing something. It was the longest minute of my life, and it was also the smartest thing anybody did that evening, because by the end of it none of us was running on the sentence we had walked in with. I had walked in with a speech. I had built it on the bus and it was very good and it was entirely about what I had not done, and by the 40th second of that minute I could hear how it sounded and I put it down. Minsu had walked in with a form. Whatever Yerin walked in with, she had written it out on paper and read it twice, which is more preparation than the two of us had managed between us in 2 months. Then she put both hands flat on the table. Right, here is what this is not. We waited. It is not about who typed. I know who typed. I have known since the Thursday and everybody at this table knows I know, so nobody has to do that. Minsu was looking at the table. And it is not about whether I am angry. I am not. I want that clear, because both of you have been walking around for a fortnight arranging things for a version of me who is furious, and she does not exist and she never did. Then what is it about? She turned to me. I have got a whole autumn of somebody. Every night, and I do not know which parts of him were real, and it is making me feel like a fool in a way that the account never did. That is fair. So that is what I want out of this table. Not an apology. Not a form. I want to know which parts were true, and I did the stupid thing first, because I am me. I gave her the easy one. I never sent you a message. Not one, from my account or anybody else's, that night or any night. I have never written to you since April. It came out of me like something being sick. I had been holding that sentence for a fortnight. I had said it in a corridor to 40 people and to a teacher with a form and to a girl at a bus stop, and it had not worked a single time, and this was the one place it would. Yerin looked at me with something close to pity. I know. You know. And what does that change for me? Then why are we here? Because that is not the question. That has never once been the question. That is the only thing you have been able to say for 2 weeks and it is the least useful true thing in this room. And there it was. I had spent the entire month defending the one fact that changed nothing. I had signed a form over it. I had lost a classroom over it. I had stood in front of the only 2 people who mattered and held it up like a receipt, and both of them had already put it down. So I stopped. And Yerin turned to Minsu. Your turn. He had his hands under the table. He had had them under the table since she sat down. Say something to me the way you say it at night. Nothing. Anything. The thing about the trains. Say that one. I watched my best friend try to speak in a room with 2 people in it. I have seen it before, in a classroom, when we were 14. I had forgotten what it actually looks like. It is not a stammer. There is no struggle in it to watch. His mouth opens and the room simply takes the sound before it gets out, and his face stays completely still, and the terrible part is how ordinary it looks from the outside. He got out 4 words, and it took him longer than the radiator takes. The train's one. And. Then he stopped, and put his hand over his mouth, which is what he does, and Yerin looked at him for a long moment. And that was the whole of it. That was the boy who had been at the other end of every night since July, sitting 18 inches from her, unable to hand her one sentence. She did not laugh. She did not soften either. She simply sat back, and I watched 2 months go out of her face. Then he is not real. And that is where I came in. What happened next is the only thing I did in this whole story that I would do again in the same order. I did not defend him. I did not explain about the classroom or the walk home or the radiator. I did not say a word about him at all. I took the chat away from him instead. Read me one. What? Any line. From the chat. You have got them. She did not need the phone. She had them the way you have things you have read 400 times. She gave me one nobody had touched all month. The handwriting one. The Buckshin steps by the sports hall, in March, waiting out the rain. He had my bag on his knees because the strap had gone, and I set it to make the rain go faster. Yerin did not move. Give me another. Being tired of things being true quietly. That one is not even mine. My grandmother says it. I said it in a kitchen in June with a bowl in my hand while he ate everything in the fridge. Another. What you eat when nobody is watching. That is his question, not mine. He asked me that one on a roof at a film club shoot, while one he hunted for the batteries and Sejin walked all the way to the Dalgi for more. I gave him a bad answer. He kept it and handed it to you properly. Arriving nowhere rather than arriving early. The Bekma stop, last February, under the Chongai footbridge, a thunderstorm and 1 bag of chips between us. Keep going. So I kept going. Why April happened, which is a wall behind the NM gym and a football and a Tuesday and the sentence I have already told you about. And then the radio and the dog and my father's driving, all three, the ones she had already been handed twice over. Kitchen the night before the mocks. An awning outside this shop last winter. The Yoksum bus with him by the window. Day, room, what our hands were doing. I did not have to think about any of it. That is the thing that got me, in the middle of doing it. I was not remembering. I was just reading out my own life, and he was in all of it, standing next to me, holding the other end of everything. And somewhere in there it turned over, and it stopped being me proving something and started being what it actually was. I was not taking those lines back. I was giving him away. Every date, every room, in front of the one person whose opinion he had spent 2 months buying with them. I had thought the price of taking a word back was handing over Minsu. It was not a price. It was the whole method, and I had sat on it for a fortnight. Yerin got there before I did. There is nothing left in it that is his. She was not asking me. Is there? Minsu did not look up. Say one. One line you made up yourself. One thing in 2 months that came out of you and not out of him. He went through it with his hands under the table, all of it, the way I had gone through it on a Sunday night on my bed. Then he shook his head. He had been the only person alive who knew where every sentence came from. That was the whole of what he had. He had used it on her in a corridor on Friday and it had worked, and I had just counted it out on a table, line by line, in front of her, and given every last one of them a date. When I stopped, nobody said anything for a while. Then Minsu put both hands flat on the table, the way she had, and did the bravest thing I have ever watched anybody do, and he did it to me and not to her. He looked straight at me. 5 weeks of nights. Date those. I did not follow at first. Go on. And I did follow, and I sat there with my mouth shut, because there was nothing in me to date them with. That is his. That will always be his. Every night from the end of July, 11 o'clock, sometimes a little after night of somebody typing and waiting and typing again, and I was not in a single one of them. You cannot. Can you? No. Try. Pick one. Any night in the whole of September. I sat there and tried, because he had asked me to and because he had earned it, and I got absolutely nothing, because there was nothing to get. I was asleep. I was doing homework. I was standing in a corridor being a boy with a girlfriend. No. Say it properly. Was not there. Not one of them. He turned to her then, and it took him a long time, and he got it out in pieces, with a gap in the middle of each one. Every word was his. Every night was mine. And that is the sentence I would put on the whole 2 months, and he is the one who found it, in a room with 2 people in it, which by his standards is roughly a moon landing. Yerin sat there with her hands round a cup nobody had filled. Then she gave her answer, and it was not for either of us. I want to say this properly, because I have been working it out for a week and I want it out in one go. Nobody interrupted her. I knew from the Thursday. Not the details, and not for certain, and not his name. I stood by the bins behind my brother's shop and watched somebody fail to get one sentence out. And I had been reading a boy every night who leads with the hard thing. The 2 of them fitted together while I was still holding the rubbish. She was looking at the table. I answered him that night anyway. And the night after. I told myself it might still be Jihoon, and that was a lie, and I am going to stop telling it. Minsu had not moved. I fell in love with somebody in that chat before I knew any of this, and that part one cannot give back, and I would not. And then on Thursday I found out, and I sat on my bed and I waited for it to go. It did not go. It got worse. There it is. The whole thing, out loud in a noodle shop, from the only person in this story who was ever honest on schedule. And now I have both of you in a room, and I have found out that he is made of 2 people, and neither one of you is him. Nobody said anything, though I am not choosing. I want that clear. I am not sitting here picking one of you like a jacket. Then she turned to Minsu. You are going to school on Monday, and you are putting your name in that box yourself. Not his. Not a page you hand him at a table so that he can carry it for you. You, in the room, in front of her. He did not answer. And when that is done, you can write to me. From your own account, with your own name on it, and I will read it. That is not much. It is exactly as much as you have earned, and it is more than you had an hour ago. And if I cannot write it, then you cannot write it. And I will have found that out, and I will stop, and neither of us will have to spend another 2 months at 11 o'clock. We let that sit. I am not doing it because I am kind. I am doing it because for 2 months somebody gave me the best hour of my day and I would like to know whether he can do it with his name on it. Call it a question, not a reward. Then she stood up and put her coat on, and she looked at me last. You never wrote to me. Not once in 4 months. You could have, any day, and I could have, and neither of us did, and that is not a crime, it is just what we were. I know. Go and find the one you actually talk to. And this time say something first. I got up and left before it was finished. That is the only clean thing I did all month. There was more in that room to be had. I could have sat there and watched him try to answer her, and found out how it went, and had the whole ending in my hands to keep. Instead I put my chair under the table and went out past the dog into 3rd Street, and let the two of them have the rest of it without an audience. It was 7:10. Taeju would be back from the Gyeongdong market at 8 and there was a very good chance he would find out I had been in his shop, and I discovered on the corner that I did not care at all. Minsu took his version back on the Monday, and he did it without telling me, and he did it in the worst room he could have picked. He walked up to Jihoon and Nari and the boy from the year below at the top of the science stairs, in the middle of the morning, and he said 8 words with his hands shaking. He did not know. Not until that Tuesday morning. Jihoon asked him what that made him, then. He did not answer. He has never been able to answer anything in front of 3 people, and that is exactly how many were standing there, and he did it anyway. By the end of that day none of the 3 were walking with him. He had bought them with 1 sentence in a corridor and he gave them back with another one, and they were the only people he had. I heard about it from Bora, who told me the way you hand somebody a bill. Hyunwoo caught me on Monday at the vending machine outside the science corridor, which is a place I was not supposed to be. Is it true you put your own name on that form? Yes. Why? Because there was a reason and I could not say it out loud. I still cannot. The person it belongs to is putting his own name on one this morning. He thought about that while the machine did its thing. I have been telling people you were running both of them in a circle. I know. It was a good line. It was a very good line. I made it up at a table with the salt in my hand and it went round this whole school in a day and a half. Then he did the thing I had not expected from him in 3 years. It was not true. I am going to go and say that to the people I said it to. You do not have to. I know. That is why it will work. Why are you doing it? Because I sat opposite her in the makwa for most of an hour, and she talked about you for nearly all of it, and I would rather be the person who fixed it than the person who is still telling a joke about it in March. That is the most adult thing I have heard all year. Do not enjoy it. I still think you are extremely lucky and I intend to keep saying so. He did it too. Not in an assembly, not with an audience. 1 person at a time, over about 2 days, in the way that things actually move in that building, which is sideways and by mouth. By the end of that week the line was dead. There is no ceremony when a thing like that dies. It simply stops being repeated, and the corridor gets on with something else, and nobody ever tells you it is over. Soi Yeon came on Tuesday afternoon. I was in the afternoon group with Yuna and Jeho and Mr. Guak marking his other subject at the front, and there was a knock, and Mr. Guak looked up for the 2nd time that hour. She was in the doorway. She has been the most looked at person in that school since the day she walked into it. And she stood in a doorway at the end of the science corridor where the whole building could watch her doing it, and she did not come in. Outside. She had her bag on one shoulder and she was not doing any of her usual things with her face. I heard about the table. From who? From Bora, who heard it from Yerin. Which is a route I did not enjoy. Right. And then she stopped. She was clearly about to say something. I watched her get to the edge of it and stand there, and I watched her wait. That is what she had been doing since a Tuesday morning at the lockers. She was not testing me, and I had had that wrong from the first hour. She was doing the exact thing she had asked me to stop doing, she knew it, and she had come down here to do it anyway. Standing there, I finally understood what she had been asking me for. So I went first. I do not want to be cleared. That is not what I am after anymore, and I have been after it for so long that I lost the thing it was for. She waited. I want to be the one who says it first. To you. Starting now, before anybody asks, with nothing on fire. Go on then. I am frightened of you, not of losing you. Of you. Everyone in this building has an opinion about you and I have been carrying theirs instead of my own. That is why I never said anything. It is also why that word was in my mouth in June for him to pick up. She did not blink. That is a horrible thing to hear. I know. I would rather you heard it from me first. There was a lot of corridor behind her and I have no idea how many people were in it. All right. All right what? All right, that was first. Do it again tomorrow. And then she took my hand, in the doorway of the afternoon group, in front of Yuna and Mr. Guac in a corridor that had given up pretending to be going anywhere. She did not let go of it for the length of the corridor. On the outside that is a girl holding a boy's hand. She has spent 3 years being a photograph. Everybody in that school has an argument with her that she is not in. And she went and stood in a doorway that everybody could see and picked up the hand of the boy whose file has an incident on it and whose best friend called her a poster on a wall. By the end of that afternoon it was in the class chat, and by Thursday there was nothing else in our year worth having an opinion about, and she had known all of that before she raised her hand. Cost her the thing she had been living behind since the day she arrived in that school. And she did it in a corridor, in front of everybody, after I had gone first, which was the whole of what she had ever asked me for. Minsu went to Miss Han on Monday morning with a form in his own handwriting. He did not manage to speak in the office. He put the paper on the desk and stood there, and Miss Han read it twice. Is this your handwriting? He nodded, and that was the whole of it. They did not throw him out. That is not what happens. There is a meeting, and a letter home, and a thing on a file. By the end of that week I was back in my form room, with my name off the record and my seat given away to somebody else, which I deserved. He stayed in the school. That surprised people. He had a place at a school in Sokcho arranged, a bag half-packed, and an aunt called Mayan expecting him. On the Tuesday of the meeting he told her he was staying. He told her by text, because of course he did. We pass each other about 4 times a day. We have not had a conversation since the noodle shop. Not a fight, not a scene. He nods. I nod. That is what we have now, and I chose it twice, once at a table when I pushed a form back across it and once when I counted out 14 years of afternoons in front of the person he loved. Yerin sat her exams and did not come to the shop end of Yerin Street much after that. Taeju put a bowl in front of me again on the first Sunday in December, with Mrs. Ryu pretending hard to be busy with the crates. He said nothing about any of it. He wrote it in the book, and the writing down was the point. Chai-won runs the class chat. She has never posted a single untrue thing in her life and she never posted that one, and I have stopped trying to work out what that makes her. And on the last Thursday of term I stood at the lockers at 8:20, which is my hour in my corridor, and I waited. Soy Eon came round the corner with 2 cups, and gave me the one I like, and got a question in before I had got there first, which she does now, deliberately, because she thinks it is funny. We went out past the fire cabinet and the Hanwol Crest and down Yerin Street, past the Doa and the Dalgi and over 3rd Street, and through the window of the noodle place there was a boy at the corner table on the outside chair, with a phone face down in front of him, waiting for 11 o'clock. He did not look up. I did not stop.
So, what do you think about the way this story ended? For 2 weeks he kept telling the easiest lie possible. I didn't do it. But the real problem was never the lie. It was that for 14 years he could never bring himself to be the one who spoke first. He gave all of those feelings to one friend in a stairwell, and then spent years pretending they meant nothing. And in the end, it took someone else writing those words down for him to finally understand how much they could mean to a person who had been waiting to hear them. Maybe that is the real point of this story. Sometimes the version of you that exists in someone else's memory can seem braver, kinder, or more honest than the person you actually became. And instead of fighting that version, maybe the only thing you can do is finally become someone who deserves it. So, do you think he wasted those 14 years by staying silent? Or did everything have to happen this way for him to finally understand what he wanted? Let me know what you think in the comments. And, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more.